I am your host, G.I. Wingnut. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are getting back to this whole uh, 1952 and a planned deception. This one is going to be about the School of Hermes, and it got me to a place I didn't expect to wind up. This one might surprise you as much as it surprised me. Just saying. So let's go ahead and get on into it. So, first up, let's take a look at this tab about the School of Hermes. I got some other stuff lined up on these items that are listed here. But the School of Hermes is a term that refers to various concepts and institutions that share a connection with the Greek god Hermes, known for his role as a messenger, guide, and patron of commerce, thieves, and travelers. It's an interesting mix. Here we will explore the different aspects of the School of Hermes. Hermes Trismegistus, which I've got a video clip that I edited for time's sake. I will leave a link for it in either in the description box or in my community tab on YouTube. But we'll get into him in a moment. Hermes Summer School, which I've got a couple of things lined up on that, got me to a really wild place I did not expect to get to where it took me. We'll get to that in a moment. The Leather School, I have some stuff lined up on that, and we'll get to that shortly. God's School, in a fictional context, Hermes was a teen messenger god and the teen god of speed, who spreads rumors and gossips, causing unending dramas. He is a sly, talkative, carefree, mischievous, neutral, and slightly sadistic deity with a love for speed and drama. That sounds like Loki. And then we've got the Nicholas A. Hermes Elementary School. I'm going to take a look at that one first, real quick. We'll get to that in just a second. In conclusion, the School of Hermes is a multifaceted concept that encompasses various aspects of mythology, philosophy, education, and even fictional characters. Each of these entities shares a connection with the Greek god Hermes, reflecting his role as a messenger, guide, and patron of commerce, thieves, and travelers. Yeah, I thought that was rather interesting. I want to go back to that real quick. That deity list. Let's see, where was it? Let's just look at that up here. Oh, yeah, it's up here. Um, Patron saint of commerce and thieves. Anyway, real quick look at the Nicholas A. Hermes Elementary School. It's located in Aurora, Illinois. The student to teacher ratio is 18 to 1. But the detail that I wanted to bring out is that according to U.S. News Education, Nicholas A. Hermes Elementary School is ranked 1,252nd out of 1,669 Illinois elementary schools. The school's minority student enrollment is 98%, and 3% of the students scored at or above proficient level for math, while 12% scored at or above that level for reading. That sounds a lot like the stats that I've heard coming from those Scientology schools, and there are several other schools that I can think of that just distort things and do not do their educational duties. Just saying. So we've got Hermes Trismegistus, and I could try to break it all down with this brief AI thing, or I can just let Dr. Sledge take care of it, which I'm going to. Like I said, I edited this next little clip for time purposes, but I will provide a link for it.
Prior to his untimely death at age 37, Hermann Rorschach was at work developing a psychological test in which abstract images or ink blots were used to reveal the otherwise unknown or hidden dimensions of the unconscious mind. The original 10 cards, from black and white blots to colorful abstractions, were thought to provide a secret passageway into the emotional and psychological states of the patient, thus revealing to the analyst patterns of disordered emotions or thought patterns. This test has gone on to great fame and use and has also been derided as a pseudoscience and no different than the old con of cold reading. In my years of studying Hermetic and occult literature, I found that certain texts seem to function a bit like the Rorschach test. Their obscurity, brevity, and gravity invite enormous intellectual and spiritual attention, and into just that obscurity, brevity, and gravity, the would-be initiate projects their own philosophical and religious concerns, commitments, biases, and desires. Into this hermetic hall of mirrors, their own image is actually reflected back to them, though, because of the distortion, they can't or won't recognize it as just themselves. Many such texts immediately jump to mind that have such a power. The enigmatic Tao Te Ching, the Sefer Yetzirah, or the Book of Formation, the mysterious letters at the beginning of some surahs of the Quran, the channeled text of the Book of the Law revealed to Aleister Crowley in April of 1904. Though this effect is nowhere more clearly present to me than in the famed Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. This text, only a dozen or so lines, is said to contain all of the wisdom of Hermetic philosophy, from alchemy to cosmology, to the creation of the transformational Philosopher's Stone, to the spiritual transformation of the initiate. The text has spawned numerous volume-length commentaries over the centuries, and there are as many interpretations as there are versions of the text itself. The Emerald Tablet is perhaps the single greatest and poorest understood of all text in the Hermetic and occult philosophies. In this collaboration with Philip Holm over at Let's Talk Religion, I'll be exploring this most famous Hermetic text, while Philip will be diving into the historical religious philosophy of Hermeticism more generally. If you haven't checked out Philip's channel, make sure to take a look. He shares his expertise on a wide range of topics in religious studies, and his content on Islam and Sufism are especially wonderful and enlightening. Also, if you want to dive deeper into Hermetic philosophy, make sure to check out my playlist on just that topic. As I've explored at length in my episodes on the Corpus Hermeticum, the religious philosophy ascribed to the legendary Hermes Trismegistus can be analyzed into two somewhat artificial groupings. The first are the so-called philosophical Hermetica, which are the texts which have survived from late antiquity and describe a salvific religious philosophy whereby an initiate is reunited with the divine nous, or mind, through a process of spiritual education, ritual observance, and, it seems at least, alterations of consciousness. The second group of Hermetic texts have gotten much less attention and remain pretty difficult to access even to this day. These are the so-called technical Hermetic texts and cover a wide range of topics, especially including astrology, alchemy, and magic. These texts are preserved in various pretty confused forms and were still quite popular through the late classical period, into the Islamic period, and of course through the Christian Middle Ages, and of course even then into the early modern period as well. The Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus seems to sit directly between these two groups, in that it seems to both have a religious philosophical dimension, and the cosmogenesis aspect has largely been understood as alchemical in nature. So already we have our first enigma about this text. What kind of text is this, and what does it mean? That's a really good question, but to hazard even a preliminary answer, we need to unpack the tortured textual history, especially the origins of the Emerald Tablet. The oldest example of the text appears in the Arabic book Kitab Sir al-Khaliqa, or The Secret of Creation and the Art of Nature, ascribed to the famed 1st century miracle worker Apollonius of Tyana, or Balinus as he's known in the Arabic world. This work is an encyclopedia of various topics including natural philosophy, especially one of the earliest mentions of the sulfur-mercury theory of the metals, a foundational notion in later alchemy. Two other versions of the Emerald Tablet are also known in Arabic. One from about a century later, this one is preserved primarily in the Jabirian alchemical corpus and seems to be somewhat truncated and perhaps even rather corrupt. Though often shorter variants of text are sometimes indicator of a kind of ur-text, but frankly that's impossible to know here. The other is from the 10th century and comes from the pseudo-Aristotelian text Kitab Sir al-Asrar, known in the Latin West as the Secretum Secretorum. More on this text in just a moment as well. It's really important in the European environment. Now to that really thorny question. Is the Emerald Tablet a text more ancient than its appearance in the Arabic Hermetic philosophy of the 9th century? To be sure, there are no references to the text in either the late classical sources, either in Greek or a Syriac version has never been found, or even referenced for that matter. Secondly, the text is so brief and enigmatic that evidence of translation from one language to another doesn't really seem to appear. For instance, if we could find a clear example of a Hellenism or a transcribed Greek word, that would be more solid evidence of greater antiquity for the text. None immediately jump out, but there might be an exception to that, actually. In both the Sir al-Khalika and the Sir al-Asrar versions, there is an important line missing from the Jabirian text with an important technical term. That is the Arabic word for a talisman. In fact, it's the Arabic word talisman. The line reading something like, "Father of talismans, protector of wonders, all-powerful." Now, this can cut in two different directions. The first direction is that this line has a survival of the Greek word telesma, which by the late classical and especially the Byzantine period had in fact taken on the notion of a religious or occult significance, something like our modern word talisman or charm. If so, this technical word may be evidence of a late classical Greek substratum for the Emerald Tablet. If you've ever studied the Emerald Tablet, it's probably either this version in Latin or a translation into whatever vernacular language you speak. Okay, I know what you might be thinking at this point. Like, look, I'm watching this video to learn about what the Emerald Tablet means, not about the origin or the transmission history of this text. But I bet you can see the problem I'm going to mention. Obviously, defective translations into Latin from multiple different obscure Arabic versions profoundly compromise any understanding of the text. Remember that Pater omnis telesmi totius mundi ehic est line that sent alchemists on a wild goose chase for hundreds of years? Yeah, that's a real big problem. Secondly, to attempt any understanding of the Emerald Tablet, you gotta pick a version, and if you read Latin, you're still reading a translation, and very likely a compromised translation at that. And if you read Arabic, well, you're in a bit better shape, but then there are still 3 different versions to pick from, all of which differ somewhat substantially from one another. The shorter one in the Jabirian corpus doesn't even have the whole complicated talisman line, and honestly, its brevity and corruption might even be an indicator of translation, potentially making it closer to the ur text of the tablet. Who knows? What I'm saying is that before you can offer any interpretation of the text at all, you gotta pick some version in some language and go from there. So a very important question here is, on what rational grounds does one pick a version as more or less authoritative or authentic? I really have no idea, but I can't help but to grin when I see definitive interpretations about the Emerald Tablet, what it really means, and wonder how long until someone in the comments says, look, it's all really simple, it's just blah 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 blah. No, none of this is simple, and we haven't even read the text or the texts of the Emerald Tablet yet. Further, European scholars didn't even know about the persistence of the Arabic texts into the early 20th century, which means that all those alchemists and all those Hermetic philosophers from the translators of the 12th century to the scholars of the early 20th century labored for nearly 900 years with multiple defective translations, with many of those people producing substantial commentaries on the text, likely attempting to uncover mysteries that just as might likely had to do with garbled Latin translations of an obscure Arabic text, as much as anything else. Many versions of the text are framed with a kind of discovery legend where various figures from Sarah, the wife of Abraham, to Apollonius of Tyana, to Alexander the Great discover an underground tomb, usually thought to be the tomb of Hermes Trismegistus himself. This tomb is sometimes located near Hebron, where a skeleton is said to be holding a tablet engraved on a green stone, very often interpreted to be emerald, hence the name of it, containing the brief text, which is often described as being written in some kind of ancient language, often some form of Aramaic, even Phoenician sometimes. This theme of finding various kinds of treasures in ancient tombs was pretty popular in antiquity because it probably happened sometimes, and this even reaches back to Plato's Ring of Gyges myth, or in some sense survives even into Ridley Scott's famous scene with the engineer in Alien. The text itself is really brief. The Vulgate Latin version is only 151 words, and amazingly, the shortest Arabic text is only about 50 words. And it seems to describe a cosmos as linked with a macrocosm-microcosm structure. This is pretty common to the alchemical text of the Hellenistic period and beyond, where something, again, it's not clear what it is, ascends and descends the scale of being, including passing through the various elements, and appears to be perfected somehow. Vague enough for you? Yeah, me too. So you might be wondering, why don't you add more of an interpretation to what you think the text says, or what you think it might even mean? Well, all those problems I just mentioned a minute ago. It's so difficult to even know which text is authentic or authoritative that the more you begin to project your ideas of what the text means, you can only do that once you pick a text. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not even sure how to pick one text to be the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. We just don't have the one. Now, despite the fact that I'm not going to say more about what I think the text means, I can, however, say a bit more about how the text has been interpreted historically. It may very well be that the text appears in those Ismaili circles because they read or wrote the text as describing the being of Hermes Trismegistus as what actually does the ascending and descending the scale of being. Recall that in those circles, Hermes was a kind of quasi-angelic prophet of natural science, linked in some way with Idris, or Enoch, who had ascended to heaven and become transformed into an angel as early as some of the Hechelot literature. This might explain why, at the end of many versions of the text, Hermes Trismegistus claims that his greatness flows from this process.
You can find more of Dr. Sledge's work over at Esoterica channel on YouTube. He does some really great deep dives. But as you can see, that video was a bit too long for me to want to put it all in. So let's go ahead and move on to the next tab. So up next is the Hermes Summer School. And this particular topic is going to kind of get broken up a little bit because I'm saving the wildest bit for last. So, the Hermes Summer School is an educational project organized by various institutions, including the Netherlands Research School for Library Studies, the OSL, and the Italian Society of Respiratory Medicine, SAMIR. The project aims to develop standards for medical specialty training and provide a platform of interdisciplinary research and collaboration. Okay, all of a sudden I'm remembering how many dentists and chiropractors that are out there that are Scientologists. Just throwing that out there for an example. Focus areas: Hermes Summer School has focused on various topics, including adult respiratory medicine. The project has organized courses and workshops on adult respiratory medicine, providing a valuable benchmarking tool for respiratory physicians. Degrowth and sustainability. The summer school has explored cultural narratives of degrowth and stability, analyzing their complex relations and implications for sustainable development. Degrowth. Degrowth. Could that be depopulation? Asking for a friend. Library and cultural studies is the next bullet point. The Hermes Consortium for Literary and Cultural Studies has hosted annual summer schools, bringing together specialists, delegates from partner universities, and PhD students to discuss and share methodologies and interdisciplinary themes. Key features is an interdisciplinary approach, which in engineering is a great way to go, but I don't know about in this esoteric stuff. Anyway, interdisciplinary approach. The Hermes Summer School brings together experts from various fields, including medicine, literature, and cultural studies, to foster collaboration and knowledge exchange. Critical inquiry. The summer school engages critical thinking and analysis of complex topics, such as degrowth and sustainability and their implications for society. Okay, now I'm really wanting to go see if Bill Gates is part of the Hermes Summer School. I'm just wondering. Anyway, moving right along. Practical applications. The project provides hands-on training and workshops enabling participants to apply theoretical knowledge to real-world problems. International collaboration. The Hermes Summer School is a collaborative effort between institutions from Europe and beyond, promoting global understanding and cooperation. Upcoming events. Now, this has already happened, and I haven't checked into it. I tried to, but the page is gone. So I'm gonna have to do some of that internet magic and go find out what it was they were actually talking about. And when we later on, you'll understand maybe a little better as to why I'm so intrigued by this. Keynotes and master classes. The keynotes and master classes for the 2024 Hermes Summer School have been confirmed. The event will feature renowned experts in the field, including Dr. Boyden, who will coordinate the Sustainable Humanities Research Group at the Netherlands Research for School Studies, OSL. All right. Oh my goodness. This gets wild. Let's move on. Now let's take a quick peek at the Hermes Consortium for Literary and Cultural Studies. The Hermes Consortium for Literary and Cultural Studies is a collaboration of doctoral schools in Belgium, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and the USA. The consortium aims to further an understanding of the European presence in the fields of literature, art, and culture in an era of globalization, promote interdisciplinary thoughts in the fields of literary and cultural studies, explore changes in European self understanding and self criticism across cultures and disciplines in and beyond Europe, and develop cooperation between European and non European research environments. Key features: a long standing collaboration of 12 doctoral schools. 12, huh? That seems to be a reoccurring number throughout the whole esoteric world. Anyway, moving on. Focus on the European presence in literature, art, and culture in an era of globalization. Interdisciplinary approaches in literary and cultural studies. Exploration of changes in European self understanding and self criticism. Development of cooperation between European and non European environments. The summer schools. The consortium hosts an annual summer school which brings together specialists, delegates from partner universities, and PhD students. Yeah, we kind of already read this. If you really want to read on through it, feel at, feel welcome to go ahead and pause the video if you want to read through that, because there's a few other things that I want to take a look at real quick. I'm trying to keep this video relatively short. So next up, I've got this the Netherlands Research School for Literary Studies, the OSL. The Netherlands Research School for Literary Studies is the national research network for library theory, comparative and transnational literatures, and interdisciplinary approaches to literature in the Netherlands. Established in 1995, OSL serves as a forum for debate and exchange for scholars in the field, offering high standard and cutting edge academic education for REMA students and PhD candidates. REMA? Where have I heard that word before? At least phonetically speaking. All right, I'm not saying it's directly tied to anything else. Just the old conspiracy theorist is trying to pop up here. Just saying. Key activities: provides research education for REMA students and PhD candidates, offers a platform for the exchange of research ideas, network contacts, and intellectual inspiration for literary scholars, welcomes proposals for courses and activities at any time of the year, promotes interdisciplinary approaches to literature. Research focus. The OSL focuses on literary theory, comparative and transnational literatures, and interdisciplinary approaches to literature. The school encourages the study of literature as language art in all its forms, from print to ebook, as well as literary culture and the question of literariness in its historical and current manifestations and dynamics from a variety of perspectives. I wonder what their take would be on that book Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. Just a question, just a thought. Anyway, location: the OLS is currently based at the University of Groningen. I probably butchered that, and welcomes the participation of students and scholars from all Dutch universities and from abroad. I found that interesting. Next tab. Okay, so this next tab is going to be pretty short, just basically because of the fact that I want to show you they already have next year's seminar scheduled. So I guess I can look forward to that next year. but we'll see what happens with that. So in this next tab, it seems rather interesting to me. I mean, I get where they're coming from. It is important, in my opinion, to learn multiple skills. And having studied leathercraft in junior high school and industrial arts back in the 70s, I understand how satisfying leather work can be. I still do it on occasion, but it was never wrapped up in any sort of esoteric studies or anything like that. It was all about the art form, all about the creativity. But here, Hermes Paris, the leather school, passing on values and skills. Each year, Hermes recruits more than 200 craftsmen for its leather goods division. Yeah, they've got their own store. Anyway, we'll get to that. This group has used this opportunity to welcome talents from all professional backgrounds, which I think is an amazing thing. It's the underlying things to behind the program that I have issues with. So this in turn requires the creation of less academic training programs. The goal is for everyone to obtain a diploma. Yeah, they give away a lot of diplomas in Scientology too. Just saying. So, how do you make gloves, a bag, or a saddle when you learnt a different trade? At Hermes, this is achieved through the leather school. This school, without a building, is in fact more of a method, similar to those that have marked the history of painting. It is based on the idea of sustainable transmission of shared values and skills. Since 2011, the strong demand for leather goods has committed Hermes to increasing its production capacity. Today's reality focuses on training adults who, 9 times out of 10, arrive in the leather goods workshops as absolute beginners. I think that's great. It's fantastic to learn a new art form, a new skill, in my personal opinion. Continuing, so it is a question of innovating and appealing to the five senses. Therefore, or before any practical exercises, the artisan interns observation, tools, a position, a technique, think and experiment. For example, if you have to close your eyes to discover purling, a setting technique that gives a cut tack its lovely round pearl shaped head. The musical sound of the purlers against the plaque of a bag's side strap. Its regularity and its power, depending on the force applied to the tool, reveals much more than lengthy explanations. And yeah, that's true. Through experience, you can learn how far you can push things. Modern society being an example of that, in my personal opinion. Anyway, continuing. Successfully crafting exceptional objects is not the only ambition. The collaboration with schools and colleges, the 50 or so trainers, are committed to supporting every trainee until he or she obtains their diploma. So we got peeling off and discover more, tandem, a decade of open-mindedness. In late 2008, an artisan from the leather shop at in Sayat laid down his tools in Puy de Dôme to spend a week behind a counter with sales associates at the Faubourg Saint Honore store in Paris. It was the start of the tandem exchanges. Yeah, footsteps across the collection, the golden fillets of porcelain. So, real quick, yeah, they've got a fashion show here, the 2025. runway show. They've got a variety of leather products available for purchase. Um, Apparently, they get into jewelry making as well. But these are ways for making money for their cult. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Money raising, that is. Funding, that is. Anyway, turn that off. And let's move on to the next tab. Okay, real quick on this tab is the Hermes Summer School 2024. And if you want to take a look at their suggested preparatory readings, there's a name or two on there. One in particular, I'm not even going to try. But if you want to dig deeper on that, feel free. I'm not going to stop you. There's a little bit more here as far as more preparatory reading. I'm not really going to dig into this much. I just want to basically bring this to your attention because it plays into what's going on in the next tab. In fact, that's really what matters, okay? Because this is where things went crazy for me. Hermes Summer School 2024. The Hermes Summer School 2024 has two confirmed events: narrating degrowth and sustainability, cultural imaginaries, and the fourth industrial revolution. Let's see, today is June 26th, 2024, so this happened not too long ago. This is something I alluded to earlier in the video that I was unable to find any information on as of yet. I will be digging deeper into it. It's this next one though. It's that next seminar title that really caught my attention. Hermes Summer School on Artificial Intelligence and Radio Frequency Integrated Circuits for 6G and beyond. Additionally, the Netherlands Research School for Literary Studies, OSL, is accepting proposals for 23-24 and has okay, so that's old news. So, what is this Hermes Summer School on Artificial Intelligence and Radio Frequency Integrated Circuits for 6G and beyond? The Hermes Summer School is an event that bridges the gap between advanced RFIC technologies and AI applications, propelling the era of 6G and beyond. So we got esoteric stuff mixed into our technology. Why does that not surprise me? And I'm going to try to find a clip to throw in on the end of this. I'll see what I can do about it. It has to do with the Lucis Trust. So key highlights: the event promises to bridge the gap between advanced RFIC technologies, AI applications. It's started today, so I'm going to try to see if I can dig anything up on that. The event is under the expert guidance of Gulsa Gayasi, WP4, which aims to set new benchmarks in communication technology, enabling advancements that promises to enhance connectivity and system integration like never before. So there's the two entities. And note, the event is an exciting opportunity for those interested in the futures of wireless communications and AI. So, what is really going on? Where, I mean, a planned deception, and this group that's tied in from 1952 is pushing AI, which seems to have the world really on edge right now. And you can see I'm using some AI to make my work a little bit easier, just for summarizing. And you notice I also try to filter what the AI is saying and providing corrections where needed, or pointing out various slants that are provided by AI which are distinct risks I see in the future when dealing with this technology. But finding out that it's driven by an esoteric movement, it provides some concern for me. Anyway, if you've made it this far into the video, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your support. If you're not subscribed and you liked what I presented, please, by all means, subscribe, like, and definitely share with anybody that you think might benefit from this information. Until the next video, I hope that you stay healthy. And remember, not only does physical health matter, but so does mental health.
Beneath the surface of the information and communications revolution, an arcane process is at work with tremendous implications for humanity's future. In the digital circuits on which the internet, computers, and cellular phones all rely, electricity is made to run through the circuitry pattern on a silicon chip, performing an ordered, repetitive dance, the rudiments of ceremony and ritual. Electricity is the life force of divinity, and the harnessing and directing of electrical behavior is all part of the divine plan. In Alice Bailey's words, electricity is the foundation of all manifestations and lies back of all evolution. It produces light in ever-growing brilliancy and lies behind all human relationships. He who has solved what lies back of electrical phenomena has solved the secret of his own being. Compared to just 100 years ago, the quality of light on the planet has evolved significantly through experimentation with electricity. In homes and in industry, in science, technology, and medicine, light is being focused, transmuted, and radiated. Areas of the spectrum invisible to human sight are being explored, pointing to a future where the inner realms of being will eventually be discovered. Humanity is truly moving towards an age of light wherein the very secrets of life themselves will reveal themselves.